have to seek God for ourselves. So this docuseries shares the stories of people who took that leap of faith, and in doing so, their journey inspired me and still does. And it just goes to show you that we're all connected, and you never know what God is doing in someone's life, what he's doing in their heart, and where he will take them.
A moment when I stepped out on faith and started believing God for myself was a time in 1990 that I had just had a miscarriage. And my mother-in-law said, "Girl, you're going to have a baby by the end of the year." And I'm like, how is that going to happen? Because 9 months to have a baby in the oven, and we're already 7 months in the year. So I did get pregnant, and the baby was due February the 8th, 1991. And around August, I had wound up in the hospital and I was hemorrhaging, and the belief was that I was having a miscarriage. Mother Evans had bought one of the residents of the senior apartment building to the emergency room, and she was in the emergency room with us. She saw me and she prayed, and automatically I'm like, yeah, Mother Evans prayed for me. I know I'm gonna have this baby. I'm not having a miscarriage. But by the time I went back to see the doctor, I wasn't hemorrhaging anymore, and they said, well, you had at that time they called it a spontaneous abortion. You had a miscarriage, a spontaneous abortion. Set up an appointment with your physician to schedule a D&C to so everything to close the cycle. I never did that. We went to an amusement park. I wouldn't ride any rides that said if you're pregnant, you can't ride on, because I still believed that I was pregnant. So when we came back in town, my husband, my now ex, he went to talk to my mother because this would have been my third miscarriage. And at that point in time, he actually believed I had lost my rockers. But when I went to the emergency, come to find out, they heard my baby heart beating. And I now have a 32-year-old son that if I would have followed the doctor's instructions, I would have inadvertently aborted my miracle. So that time taught me that when God says something to me, regardless of what anybody else says, I have to have faith to believe that what he told me is what's going to happen. And especially since he already confirmed it with my mother-in-law gave me a pre-example of that, yeah, you're going to have a baby at the end of 1990. And my son was born December the 17th, 1990, 32 weeks, 6 pounds, 10 ounces. And he had an Apgar scale of 8-9. So even though he was small in stature, he was actually, his functions was functioning very well. And he was due February the 8th. So I had to believe the prophecy. And then I had to believe, regardless of what anybody else, or especially the doctors told me, that what he said was going to happen, happened. So my faith allowed me to step out on what the prophecy, somebody can give you prophecy, but if you don't believe it from what God says to you, then it's useless. Faith without works is dead. From that moment on, regardless of what anybody else said to me, if God said it to me and someone else, even a stranger, confirmed it, I believe it, because I have I have a history. And I look back and I tell everybody the story of my son, who's 32 years old now and still going strong and with 2 kids of his own. But if I would have followed medical advice and I had faith to believe, then I would have overtly aborted my son.